Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGenEd. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun, looking at charts, hanging out with you guys. So this is Ticker Request Live. Do this every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern with daylight savings time. It's kind of tough to get adjusted to. It's still being light out or not completely dark. So excuse me for being a little late. I do have work in the morning, so this may not be a terribly long stream, but excited to go over some charts with you guys. And I did want to point this out, was featured in the thumbnail that Jim Cramer has said, that we might be expecting to give up some gains ahead of what could be a tumultuous pronouncements. So, it seems like the bottom could be in, maybe for a dead cat bounce or a relief rally in maybe a bear market, but maybe we could be going to all-time highs. Who knows? I think that we, could be seeing a bounce. So, did just want to point that out. And I'll just come back to the charts here. I just have the same tickers from last week up, so I'll revisit them or I'll go over some other ones. Probably want to clean up some drawings. But yeah, I do have my usual drink here, so thought I'd cheers to you guys. And I do see that there's some stuff in the chat, so I'll check that in just a second. But yeah, before I do that, since I'll need to drink this quickly, if the stream's not going to be terribly long, maybe an hour, hour and a half at longest. Anyways, cheers to you guys, the weekend, and to hopefully the bottom being in and seeing rally in some of our favorite stocks. So cheers, guys. Oh, and I should note, another reason why I feel like the bottom could be in, I talked about it a little bit in the AMC GameStop and Unity Software video. GameStop really seems like a clear signal. Also the SPY, lots of stocks, lots of names, but just like sentiment has been kind of down the past week or two, more so the past week. And, I see that in videos getting fewer views and, just engagement in general being down more. And, in all honesty, me being bummed out a little bit. But, that's just part of it. And so I feel like it's, bottoming signal. So I'm embracing it. But yeah, I'll catch up on the chat. So Chestad is saying, hey, Andy, if you have a chance, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Bitcoin and the stock market in general. So yeah, maybe I'll flip over to, let's see, the pre-market prep, and then I'll definitely go over that probably more in depth in the morning. I feel like what I said about GameStop, we'll see the same thing with the SPY. That makes me think that Bitcoin could be bouncing, but it's kind of seemed a little bit bearish the past couple of weeks, a little bit weak, but maybe that's just to shake out weak hands, fake people out. And then I also see Saul in the chat saying, what up, Andy? What's up, Saul? How's it going? And Qubit and QSI. So let's see, is QUBT? So QUBT. Okay, so this has to be it. Quantum computing. Don't have it up there. And then QSI. And so I have heard, I watched, I can pull it up if you guys are curious to watch it. But usually when I post videos on the channel, they're not necessarily that popular. And so I'll close these other ones out. And let's see. Close that out, and I will add the SPY so I can go over that, but I will be covering that in pre-market prep. But let's see, what was I just, I was going to go somewhere with this, but I forgot. I was deleting everything, but I have those two up there. I think I was going to switch over to pre-market prep, but instead I'll just talk about Bitcoin and the SPY over here. I think that's where I was going with that. Let's see. So Bitcoin, this is I was going to show you, sorry, I'll pause this for a second. I'll show you what I was talking about. I'm just going to go to my subscriptions. And so let's see. This video from Colin, I can share this. Create a post. Bottom looks like it could be in quantum stocks and many others. A great video. So I'd encourage you to check that out. I've been learning a lot from him. I think he's a really good teacher and, a good trader. So a good person to follow, and one that I follow every morning. He puts out usually it's like a 8 to 10 minute video. This morning it was only 7 minutes. And so this is Crypto Rover. You guys can just find him if you want to get his perspective, but he always talks about CME gaps, which let's see, what is, it's, I think Chicago. Yeah. So what is a CME gap? Current price of Bitcoin CME futures. What is a CME gap? Occurs when there's a difference between the futures market closing price and the opening price for the next day. Let's see. What is Chicago Mercantile Exchange CME? And so, yeah, he talks about those over the weekends, and over the past 2 weekends, including this weekend, we have formed CME gaps to the upside, which would suggest that we would fill them. And so I did this. I might have it on the wrong time, but what I do is I just flip over to the hourly, and then the market closes. This should be East Coast time at 4 Eastern. And so I just have the close for that candle. This is in Webull. I'm sure it's going to be different in every exchange that you look at. But what Crypto Rover was talking about was, I believe, 86,700. And so I have my line at 86,953. And I was kind of expecting, that to get filled up over the past week, really at the beginning of the week, because we formed that gap 2 Fridays ago, and that did not happen. I had bought $20 worth in addition to my normal $5 DCAs, which I'm considering adjusting to $10 DCAs. I got to think about that a little bit longer. I'm doing $10 DCAs with Ethereum now, though. Just because, everybody is so bored with Ethereum, always talking trash about it. I think that's kind of an exciting time. And so with Bitcoin, it did not fill this CME gap. And then that was formed 2 Fridays ago. And then this past Friday, we have this one here, which if I switch over to the hourly, we can see, just to check myself, that is based on the close from Pi Day at 4 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, we are now trading below that. So like over here, that would suggest an upside move to fill that gap. Although odd, because this doesn't usually happen, we have yet to fill this other gap up here. So that makes me think that, either we're more likely to be going to the upside because we have these 2 CME gaps to the upside, but that also makes me, a little bit bearish since we have these CME gaps and they're being left behind. Like it could be fading lower, but with what we're seeing in the markets in general, like if we look over at the SPY, so this is not as clear of a picture like what we'd see with GameStop. So I had talked about this. I'm just going to go over it very briefly here. But I had talked about this in that video. This looks like a morning star pattern where you have a big red candle here on the daily, followed by, spinning top, dragonfly, doji, hammer candle. It's kind of a mashup of all of those. You got a bigger wick to the downside than you do to the upside. But we did, open and close right around the same level, then with a gap up and move higher to reclaim the trading from Wednesday, the open from Wednesday. So this looks really good. And also, if I remove my drawings and we switch over to the weekly, that looks like a hammer candle at the bottom there. And so that does look like a reversal signal. So that could be looking really good. If I do flip over to the SPY, we have the exact same thing there on the weekly. So I think that and also with the SPY, it's above the 50 week. This is the weekly candles here. It's closed above the 50-week moving average, whereas GameStop unfortunately opened and closed below. So, I think that overall, it seems likely that, we put in a bottom for the markets. Colin goes over it in more detail than I could, really. But essentially, I need to try and clean this up before the market opens, for the morning. But effectively, got this retracement here and getting up to the 618, that will be getting to between the 21 and 50-day moving averages. And then also we have this kind of like confluence of levels. And that seems to, let's see, correspond with, let's see, I know it's all white levels there. I need to clean up. I need to do less drawings, more quality, fewer, less clutter. But let's see, the 382 is right around that, blue circle that I have drawn there. So that makes me think that, we could at least be seeing a bounce up to here. And that would represent from closing price on Friday up about 2%. If we go up to, like, let's say the 50-day moving average or right in between those two moving averages, that represents about a 4.5% move to the upside. So I do think that things are looking good, especially, with Jim Cramer being bearish. I think that things are looking pretty good. So Bitcoin, I don't know. Like, I talk about this in pre-market preps that, I see levels to the downside at 75 being just above 74, like the highs over here. Maybe people waiting for that to be hit, those highs to be retested. Maybe we don't get quite there. 75 dip buying level in my view. And then also 72, which is the 618 from this retracement here, right at 71, 758.61. You can see that there. And then just for fun, 69, 420. And so, for me personally, I'm contemplating scooping up some extra, just like might as well in case it doesn't go lower. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily in a position with my finances right now where, I'd rather wait a few weeks to be in a position to be able to scoop some up. I got some property taxes due, so that's kind of the reason why there. I hate them. But yeah, so I mean, I could see this coming down more, and I am going to be ready like crazy to jump on it if it does come lower, like into the 70s, back into the 70s, low 70s, maybe high 60s. But if that doesn't happen as well, for the most part, my Bitcoin position, really not for the most part, my Bitcoin position is like my long-term, retirement kind of the way that I'm viewing it. But if it were to come down to like 69 and stuff, I'd go heavier there because, I think that a year from now, it'll be much higher, or by the end of the year, it'll be much higher. So that could be like an in and out play, no big deal. So I'd be up for that. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about Bitcoin if it goes up. I'm excited about Bitcoin if it goes down. I think that's the best way to play it. And yeah, I'll go over these other two as well. But I also see that Waghana, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, laser opinion, please. So Luminar, I need strategy to exit a big position, average cost 872. So yeah, I'll pull up laser. I'll go over that in a minute. I'm just going to go over the quantum stocks first. I have to say that I'm not feeling so good about Luminar after that video that I'm sure you guys have seen or are aware of, perhaps. That is this guy that does a comparison of, I believe, a Volvo with Luminar technology versus basically a Tesla with their autopilot, not their full self-driving. And I think that there were some misleading things done in that video. There was a clear bias with it, bias in favor of Luminar. And in all honesty, I don't think that Tesla is the kind of company you want to bet against or, maneuver around in whatever kind of way was done in that video. I just feel like it was kind of slimy. I think it was kind of cringe. And I think that Tesla's facing a lot of heat right now because of political stuff, also because of propaganda stuff, in all honesty. And I think that stuff will fade away. And, I think that while Elon Musk can make some bad decisions, I think that he can be fairly, he can make some bad decisions, whether that's socially or personally or politically, and that are not favorable for the company. But I think that, anybody that's ever bet against Tesla pretty much has been wrong. So, and I think that, kind of playing with Luminar at this point, like seeing that video, it's kind of a bet against Tesla. So, I have to say your average at 872 is lower than my average. But for me, what I'm doing, and I'll kind of, I guess, share my strategy a little bit. I have, I think, 195 shares, so not that big of a position, but I plan on basically selling covered call every week for, to get $1, so nothing big with that. But if Luminar does squeeze, if it does go up, I'll exit the majority of my position. If I have 195 shares, I'd get out of 100 if the covered call closes in the money, and then I'd assess with the remaining 95. But yeah, I mean, I just think that I don't know. I don't think that video was in good taste, is my perspective. But Quoto, I got greetings from Quoto. So please review. Let's see, GOSS, DVAX. MPW. Looking to buy to open those in the money April calls. Cool. And so I'll look at some unusual whale stuff with that, but you can kind of direct me a little bit once I get over there. But I need to go over the quantum stocks and then Luminar first. And so let's see. Quantum computing, QUBT. Okay, so this is getting a move. And so for me, you guys know I'm kind of risk off and stuff. With this big move having happened, that's 60% upside from the bottom. But I think this looks like it's breaking out. I think it looks really good. There could be I'm going to delete all of my drawings because it looks like there was a reverse split or something. Or I just drew them way back here. So I can't remember when I drew all that stuff. But let's see. Yeah, I mean, this is just, to me, this looks really nice with, let's see, the big moves up here. And one thing that I think is kind of good to pay attention to, it's like a rainbow here with the 200-day, 50-day, and 21-day. And so it doesn't really start to go up crazy until, these are all lined up like that. And, I'm just kind of noticing that now. Right now, the 50-day is above the 21-day, but I think that could soon be changing. But yeah, I mean, so what I could see with this, not putting anything up here just yet, I could see a move up to around the 50-day, which is around $9.10 currently, maybe around $9. Could go up to there, maybe get rejected before retesting, the breakout level and then going higher. And so what is that breakout level? It could just be the 21-day moving average. So you can think about it like that. That's currently at 632. As price goes higher, that's going to move higher. So maybe this goes up to around 9, it pulls back to 7, and then potentially continues higher. I would be in favor of it going higher for a number of reasons. One is there is a gap here. So let's see, on January 7th, closed at 1749. Just going to make that a dashed blue line so we know there's a gap there. And yeah, so we got all this consolidation there. That's probably going to be acting as some resistance, considering there were a bunch of buyers up here that been holding the bag. So they might want to catch a breath of fresh air if price does get back up to there. And let's see, maybe just doing this. Very simplistically doing let's see, the high here was 27.15. So doing a retracement from there to the low at 437. We do have the 618 at 1845, corresponds pretty nicely with that gap fill there. Then we have the 382 at 13, also corresponding with, and I just learned this, but so we have this gap here, gap fill is up here. The gap window would be, I guess, you have this gap here where it opens here, and then, there's this gap up to here. Yeah, so the gap window would effectively be the highs from over here. So it's like, the window sill, you could think about it, and then that gap is like the window, up to here, and that's filling that gap. So the gap window is right around, let's see, what's the high from over here? Let's see, 1273, corresponding pretty nicely with that 382. So yeah, I mean, I could see this going up to 9 or 13, but I would suspect that it would probably get a retracement to, its breakout level. And let's see, how could we draw that? There are a few different ways we could draw that. I'm going to do it as a ray. So we get 2 pivot points. And so I'm just going to go from the pivot high from December 27th and then connecting it with the, pivot high from February 21st. We don't have, we got a pierce over here on January, the 6th of January. But other than that, no real test of that level until it broke out over here. I could adjust this to, maybe be the high from over there. Then we got some more tests of it and really just trying to think of how could this be more conservative? Generally, I don't think that doing it to up here really gives us, is really that useful, that valid. I think it's better coming from here. We got multiple pierces. And it's still, no matter what, how I draw this, I could draw it, over here. Actually, maybe this is a better way to draw it, following that gap down. I am going to go with this level, or this downtrend, make that a little bit thicker. And it looks like we're getting a breakout of that as well as the 21-day moving average. And so I should note, while we do have some opens above that downtrend, we have no closes above that downtrend over here. And we got some wicks above, we got some opens above, but no closes above that level until Friday, when QUBT, quantum computing, went up by 29.14% on the day, continued up about 3% in the after hours on Friday, but in the overnight trading, which I believe is currently going on, it's around $7.13. So, being up about 4 cents or about 0.5% from that close on Friday. And so what I could see with this level drawn up there, I could see this continue up to that 50-day moving average, maybe around earnings. They maybe get rejected, pull back to test, get a fake out break below the 21-day moving average, retest that breakout downtrend, and then go higher, potentially up to 13, if not more than that. So that's kind of what I would expect to see. But it could blow past 9. It could go up to 13 and maybe around earnings. Then it starts to pull back. And so this would represent from current price, that would represent about 26% move to around the 50-day moving average, or getting up to 13, that would represent about an 85% move to the upside. So generally, I think this is looking pretty good, but if there is a pullback to below 7, perhaps coming down to like sub 6, in all honesty, this little bounce there, that would be right around 574, or, have fun with it, 569, but 569 might be a little too greedy, wanting it to dip to a little bit lower. And so, that's kind of what I think about that. So hopefully that is helpful. And then I will switch over to QSI. I'll go over this quickly, and then I'll get into Luminar. I'll follow up with WAG's comments there. And so QSI, Quantum Silicon Incorporated, Quantum SI Incorporated. And so what we have here is, I drew this. And so I was doing thicker lines for a while, but then I realized it just got like too intense, especially with the moving averages, which I just kind of like to keep up there to keep an eye on. But there is this gap to the downside, which looks like it's at, believe it or not, at $1 that has not been filled. So there's that gap in the moving averages below all of them right now. This uptrend, I'm going to want to make that thinner. And that's really just based on the pivot low from November 19th. And then over here consolidated above it. But, it's really just kind of arbitrary. And so I could move it like that. It's still higher lows. And, this pattern here, there aren't 3 candles in the middle, but it reminds me of a rising 3 methods where you have a big green candle here. This one going up 6.15%. And then you have what would be a rising 3 methods is 3 candles, stair stepping down, and then you see another big green candle. And so that would suggest a continuation to the upside. One thing concerning with the chart here is that it wouldn't be a continuation to the upside because it's been going down. So that's not really a rising three methods in that sense. There's more than three candles in the middle here. Maybe if we switch over to the weekly, nope. But does look like, there are some bottoming wicks potentially there. And, it's kind of tough to see with the volume here. But if I switch back over to that daily, on this big over 6% move from the 4th of March, volume was 10.58 million shares traded versus, let's see, the volume from Friday, March 14th at 20.61 million. So that's effectively, double the volume. And, it's closing the week above that 200-day moving average. The 4th over here was not the week. And so if we do look at the weeklies again, we can see that we've just been, coming down four red weekly candles in a row with this green one here. And, the kind of the thing that I think about with these gaps is that, people mark them on their charts. They say, well, I'm going to wait for that gap to fill. But then maybe they get left behind if that gap doesn't get filled. So that gap is at $1. The low from Friday was $1.12. The low from Thursday was $1.15. I feel like I'm hearing an alarm go off or something, but I'm not sure. That's why I'm pausing for a second. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I think that this could be bottoming, but there is that gap there at $1, so good to be prepared for that. But yeah, I think that this looks good, just like QUBT. I think that quantum stocks are probably going to be doing pretty good. And yeah, this is a big step up in volume. The last time volume was that high was over here. That was February 7th. And, hearing an alarm go off. It's my ice cube. I should have a drink. Cheers, guys. I'm hearing like a ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. It's the ice cube moving around as I shake the little desk here. But yeah, so the last time we saw this volume was February 7th, 23.78 million. And, we're at 20.61 million. And that was when price was, closing at $2. So, yeah, I'd like to see that volume continue. Also, looking at the MACD, I don't usually pay attention to the MACD too closely. But, we see, waxing and waning green and red. But then for quite some time, from over here, following this gap down, maybe I should mark that gap that needs to be filled to the upside. And that was from the 7th of January, which, very interesting, is going to match, over here. With QUBT. And so I imagine that was like NVIDIA earnings when I think Jensen was a little bit more bearish on quantum and like the time frame. So I would recommend checking out Colin Gladman's video. Towards the end of it, he goes over a bunch of quantum stocks. I'm not sure if he goes over QSI or QUBT. I don't think he does, but it's probably like, very similar sentiment. And so with QSI here, there is that gap at 350. Let's see, is that right? The close there was 349.5. And yeah, let's see, we could probably draw, similar kind of downtrend. This one hasn't really broken out from a downtrending resistance, whereas with QUBT, it does seem like it has broken out, but it's only one close above. And so what we would want to look for is a secondary or confirming close above, which would be above the close from the 14th, above the high from the 14th, which is at a price of $7.11. So if we look for QUBT, a close above 711, that would be really good. That would be confirming this breakout. And then if later there was a retest, that would be a great dip buying opportunity. Still holding that level, still holding above the 21-day moving average, although that would probably be a break below it. That would be a really nice setup. Generally, I think that QUBT, because of this downtrending level that it has clearly broken out, volume starting to increase, but it not being too exceptional with QSI hasn't clearly broken above any downtrend here, but volume, relative volume, is starting to look nice. And I think got distracted. The histogram down here for the MACD, it's all red here, almost got to be positive. It looks like it was basically zero over here, but then it flipped back to being red as this just bleeds down. With this bigger volume green candle there. The MACD, the histogram there is at a value of 0.0035387. Not sure how significant that is, but it's positive. And the last time that it was positive was on January 10th. So I think that's a good sign there. QBTS, this is two green little candles there for the MACD. So, I think that both of these are looking pretty good. If I had a bunch of cash on the side and was looking to enter stuff, I'd probably be interested in, if not one of these stocks, one of the ones that Colin goes over. I think Rigetti's been popular and some other stuff. But I'm not going to be doing that. And so anyways, I will continue on with looking at Wag's comment. Let's see, on Luminar. And so this is one that I actually kind of wanted to redraw some stuff. And so I might just go on a little deletion spree. And let's see. This was the prior all-time low at $4.93. So I don't think that looks so good that we were trading and consolidating below it, putting in lower lows. The 52-week low, $4.47.5, and that was hit on the 4th of March. So lower lows, I don't think that looks so great. This, I was thinking maybe an inverse head and shoulders pattern or something. Clearly did not happen. And, with this wedge that I have drawn here, I think I need to redraw it. And so I'll do that. Because, clearly we broke below this level. And so I think that we're still looking at a falling wedge, but that's not going to, let's see, I'll leave this, I'll just leave that wedge up there. I've got some other stuff here to the upside to be deleting. Actually, so for me, when I drew these levels, I was talking about, I have a small position, and they did just have this reverse split. I have a small position, and I was looking to get my average down to be around like $11 a share, because I thought that it could be getting up to the lows over here, finding some resistance there, maybe around that green line, 1186. And, I'm just going to delete this retracement because I don't think that's necessarily that useful. And this one over here, this is an extension. I think it's nice because it predicted that top there effectively at 970. The high on January 7th was $10.40. Piercing 10, piercing 970, piercing that 50-day moving average. And with that 50-day moving average there, I don't really need that retracement. And so, I had talked about it coming up to, and actually I should probably recolor this red. I would say that's an exit level, not a buy level. Around, 11, 12 bucks, 10, something around there. I think my average is around 13, which is right around that 200-day moving average at 13.22. And so anyways, I'm going to delete this doodle that I have there. And just thinking about this, okay. We do have this gap up here, 1470, but we're putting in lower lows. It's consolidating here with like lower volume. So, if volume picks up, it could be taken off. And I've been feeling more and more not so great about holding this, if it is to be a winner, how many years would one have to wait for it? And so, I'm going to redraw this downtrend here. Maybe I'll redraw it before I delete it. I'm going to do it with a array rather than a trend line so I can get the exact high over here and the exact high from the February 18th, which was at a price of 743. So I'm just going to make sure those levels are correct. It looks like they are. I'm going to lock that in place. So I think that's kind of, a level that we're dealing with as some resistance rather than this downtrend that I had there. So that's based on the pivot high from, like I said, the 7th of January. and the pivot high from February 18th. And the following days, we did get rejected from that level. So I think it's a pretty notable one. Excuse me. And then over here, clearly we broke that uptrend. But before I delete it, what I'll probably do is just draw a trend line from the pivot low from over here, which was 493. So just going to connect it to there and then go to this lower low here of 447.5. And so I got that there. And so maybe we could be talking about, I'm just going to make sure those, those are the right levels, but I can't make that, so it's actually, I'll be generous. I'll round up. All right. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the wedge that we're dealing with. We do have this downtrend that we've gotten some wicks below. We've gotten some trading below. I don't know what it was. Maybe a few weeks ago, I saw some, I think it was call selling. Let's pull up, this is something I was looking up. This is a bunch of towards the end of the day, it looks like a bunch of selling of calls with MicroStrategy. So that could be bearish for Bitcoin. But yeah, over here, I've got a $15 call it expires in January. I was looking at with Luminar, but I don't hold that. For Friday to get 64% on the bear bull slider in the favor of the bulls. But that's, net call premium for the day of $52,000 versus net put premium of only $402. So, not big money, not whales. If I go back 7 days, I think that, there's some call buying here. Puts, cash secured puts, maybe? I don't know. These selling puts, that'd be bullish. No, this is buying. So, and so this seems to be like put premiums going down. So that would be like selling to open, I believe. Volume going up there. I'm not sure exactly. Selling to open would be bullish. And from there, yeah, the stock price hasn't really done too much. 30 days here on, this was the 21st of February. Oh, I got to go back. I got to do all 30 days. This seems like, the calls were coming down there. And that's, net call premium coming down by almost $800,000. That's really not that much, though. But that kind of got me thinking, well, I don't know. I'm not feeling as confident about this. They do have earnings coming up on the 20th. I just was not very impressed by the video that I saw that was not put out by Luminar, but it was very clearly biased towards Luminar. I don't know. I had just been thinking that, with this downtrending level that I have here, as well as, this falling wedge, that, maybe it's a falling wedge and it breaks out earnings, it'd be here. It'd be really nice if it broke out. If it got above those moving averages, I think that would be excellent. But it could also break down. And so, yeah, I personally am not adding to my position. That's how I'm handling this. If it does go down to 4, or I have an alert here at 3, if it goes down there, then I'd probably aggressively add to my position to get my average down. But I'm going to be selling a covered call on a weekly basis. And let's see, I'm going to just actually do one thing. So you can't see my display, but you can see Webull. And so I'm just going to open up, this is my little trading thing. You can't see it. You probably saw the screen got a little bit whiter on my face. Maybe not. But yeah, I just want to see what my plan is. For my laser call, it's to sell an $8 strike call that expires on the 21st. For $1, I get $1 for it. And, look up the options. This is calls here. You can see there. So for March 21st, The reason why I'd sell that is because it looks like the bid price for that strike is 1 cent, and so times 100 shares, that's $1. And so I'd collect a premium of $1. And if it closes the week above $8 a share, which I find to be unlikely, let's actually look over at Unusual Whales, though, to see what the max pain is for Luminar this week. It is $5 a share, currently trading, just above $5 a share. Earnings coming up, expecting a 16.57% plus or minus move, which would be an 83 cent move to the upside or downside. And so, I should say $6 is the max pain for this upcoming Friday. For last Friday, closed 5 cents above it, so that's good, but it's only really 5 cents. It's not tons of contracts closing in the money. It's just, the one with the $5 strike, which is not shown up here currently. And so for the 21st, $6 max pain. And so that is suggesting that, more people are expecting it to go up than they are expecting it to go down around earnings. Looking at the chart from this retracement here, which is not to the downside, so it's not necessarily going to be the best for an upside level, but that's at 610. I'm actually going to delete that retracement because we have gone all the way down from there. And we do have the little bit of a blip here. That's around 7. The 50-day moving average is at 594. I think that this could be going up to 6. I think it could be going down to 3, though. So I think it's good to be cautious with it. I don't think a good strategy is to throw Tesla under the bus. And also, it seems like there's some misrepresentation of full self-driving and autopilot. Meet Kevin put out a video, which I was watching on X. Not sure that if it's on YouTube. He was talking about that Luminar would not necessarily be, is it libel? Or I don't know, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but would be taking a lawsuit out on, but the guy who made the video, because he seems to have misrepresented Tesla and full self-driving. So anyways, with this, for me, I'm going to sell a covered call this week with a strike of 8. If it closes on Friday above 8, that's great. Great for the stock, great for the company. But I will be out of, the majority of my position if that happens. I don't see that happening. But I could see, that covered call becoming worth more than $1 or 1 cent. I would just do that, and then maybe I could buy 5 extra shares, and then I could sell a covered call on the remainder of my position. So maybe that's a strategy to go with. So hopefully that's helpful. Waghana is following up regarding Luminar's recent shady video. Were you referring to the recent video by Mark Rober comparing Tesla with Luminar-equipped Lexus SUVs? Yes, I was. I didn't know if it was Volvo or what kind of vehicle it was, but apparently it was the Lexus version of their vehicle. Keep in mind Q4 2024 earnings coming up on March 20th. Yeah, that is marked here. Like I was saying from Unusual Whales, expected 16.57% move to the upside or downside. That would be about an 83-cent move. With max pain being $6 for this coming Friday, people are betting on it going up. But I don't really see, much interesting options data. Here's something that would suggest, more favor for the bulls. We do have lower lows here, which I have highlighted with that white downtrend right there. What do we see with the RSI? Higher lows. So this could be a really bad time to sell. And maybe it will be a good time for me to buy another 5 shares so I could sell 2 covered calls and then chill. But I think this could be going up to 6 this week. And so, and in all honesty, if your average is 872, over here, this high was 730. Over here, this high was 1040. That's getting into the green for you. And if there is, let's see, over the course of the next 5 trading days, earnings is on the 20th, which is Thursday. If that ends up being good for the stock and this continues higher, we could be seeing a breakout, maybe 17% move to the 50-day moving average there. But we could be seeing a breakout from this downtrend. And I think that'd look really good, but then I think that we probably want to see a retest, kind of like I think what I drew with QBTS, something like that. And so this would be, see this go up, maybe get rejected there, bounce, and then higher. But, my time frame on that can be completely off. But I think if it does break out, you probably want to see a retest of that before the breakout. But yeah, this is bullish divergence here, higher lows in the RSI, lower lows in the stock price. MACD has been flipping green here, red in this lull, red in this lull. And it looks like it's pretty close to flipping green again. Volume has been low, been diminishing. And so I think it really just needs to see a surge in volume for it to break out. But if it doesn't see that, I think people are going to be dumping it. And then it could be going to 3. So good to be cautious with it. But yeah, this bullish divergence here. Yeah, and also, with this green candle here, volume is nothing. 701,000 shares. Over here, it was 3 million. So yeah, we need to get into the millions of the shares for this to really start looking good. But yeah, that volume's just diminished. It's nothing. And so, yeah. So we'll have to see. Hopeful for this, but prepared for this. $3. Hopeful for a breakout, prepared for 3. Or not going to be super discouraged if 3. But, I might want to consider getting 5 more shares so I could sell 2 covered calls. To collect $2 basically, nothing crazy. And then Wax saying, thanks very much. Very helpful insights. Cheers. Yeah, cheers to you. Yeah. And so on March 20th or 21st, it looks like Weeble's saying the 20th. Unusual Whales is saying the 20th. We could go over to Luminar Investor. Oops, I can't spell. Luminar Investor Relations. Okay, so that should be over here. March 20th at 5 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, so I'm not going to be at work then. I could potentially stream that, but I just really don't. I don't really like streaming earnings because they're a lot of work. They tire me out, and they're kind of boring. But I can put this link. You could just type in Luminar Investor Relations, click the link, or it's investors. I can remove the banner if you want to see it. But yeah, it's just let's see. It's just investors.luminartech.com. So that's how you can get to there. And yeah, so, and then Wag saying, following up a little bit more, isn't diminishing volume a sign of no sellers, strong hands? I think it can be, to be honest, I'm not the best at volume analysis. I feel like I'm better at it when it's like pivotal. And this, like when it's doing something like this, actually, that's that would have been, I wouldn't have been the best at that. But let's see over here. You see the volume. The volume was higher over here than it was over here, so that makes me think there was some weakness. That was a double top. It'd go lower. Over here, with it being on the downside, the volume's diminished, and so that's good, but it's also just been like consolidating here. And so I think that means, so what Wag's saying is, isn't diminishing volume a sign of no sellers, strong hands? Yes, but it's also a sign that there are no buyers. So I think that, yeah, I mean, for me, like I'm saying, I have 195 shares. I'm very tempted to get another 5 shares because I would say largely because of this RSI, the bullish divergence with the lower share price, the lower lows, the higher lows in the RSI, as well as you mentioned, the lower volume. That strong hands, nobody's selling it down here. But at the same time, if it breaks lower, what's going to happen? If it breaks out, are people going to buy? For me, I'm more intrigued by this. I think that this is a likely pathway. LOL, I wish my position was just 200. I've had somebody whispering in my ear, buy, and I've been telling them I'd wait, and eventually I started adding very slowly. I'm not an aggressive buyer, and now I only have 200 shares. But I know that there are people who have tons of shares, lots of money wrapped up in it. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm envious of you for having a lower average than me, but I guess you're envious of me for having fewer shares. So, so yeah, I mean, I could, if I wanted to, I could very easily get my average down. But I don't know. It's been following this downtrend. It's been putting in lower lows. I think we could be in a bear market next year. And so I don't know how promising, I don't know how likely it is that these gaps, 1470, 2108, could be getting filled. So good to be cautious with it. But yeah, I think that it's positioned more likely with this, being a falling wedge. But it's kind of, yeah, I mean, really the thing that gets me excited is the bullish divergence, that the MACD could be flipping green. So yeah, I think that it's looking good around earnings. I'm feeling a little more confident about it. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm going to move on to the next one though, because I know that, let's see, Quoto is patiently waiting for Goss. I'll pull that up here. And I'm just going to have another drink. And I've been streaming for about 52 minutes. So I don't want to be getting too ahead of myself. Okay, so with Goss here, let's see. We do have lower lows here. Lower highs here. We do also have lower highs in the RSI. So that's good. There's no bearish divergence. It does look like it bounced from the 21-day moving average. So I think that's a good look. Volume from Friday was 2.55 million. Over here, when topping here, volume was 2.11. So it's actually higher volume, but it's a lower price. So I think that's a good look. And one of the things that was concerning over here, we were just talking about volume with Luminar and stuff. Volume on these 2 days was 2.935 million, 3.12 million, when price is, around 130. And then price goes higher, it continues up, but volume comes down. On this red day, sure, comes down. It's was held up by people holding that, and then it continues up, but volume is only like 2.19, 2.28 million. And then on this top day, when it hit 155, volume was 2.11 million. Currently, volume is 2.55 million from Friday. So I think this is looking good. I think it's looking strong. Yeah, it does look like it kind of like broke out from this wonky downtrend that I have drawn there. Yeah, I think that this is likely to test 155. Earnings were on Thursday, I guess. And they seem like they were good. So I think that this is going to be taken at 155. How much higher is it going to go? Let's see. We could do a Fibonacci extension. So following this pullback, just going to get the extension tool. Following this pullback, going from that low up to the high of 155, and then finding the low over here, which I believe was hit on this day, March 10th, we can see where this could be going. And in order to do that, we're going to have to take a step back. The 100% is 182. So, yeah, and that is going to be, another way you can get that kind of measurement is, just do that distance there and then move that over to the low from here. Lines up perfectly. And so that's 182, and that represents a 66% move from the bottom there. But from the midpoint, it's probably going to be about 33%, 25%. And so, yeah, I think that this has potential to get to 25%. And let's see. Very curious with this. With these highs, maybe we see an intersection over there. So I'm just going to do a ray with the pivot highs here. Nope. I'm just going to drag this lower. So get an intersection there. Kind of arbitrary. But yeah, that could be, stock price could be getting up to like 182. 25% higher. So I think that looks pretty good. It did, it's already done kind of like the retest of going up here, coming down, and then now it's going up. So I think that looks good. I'm in favor, but I could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe they do a capital raise or something and it comes down. I don't know. Then DVAX, DVAX. Let's check them out. Yeah, no problem, Wag. Happy to help out. And to be honest, I was leaning more bearish on Luminar, but after going over the chart, I'm leaning more bullish. So thank you. Gave me a little bit more hope. I'm still going to sell covered calls, though. I just need to condense my portfolio. And yeah, I don't know. It's like there's some stocks that I have a better feel for and or are covered more extensively by other YouTubers and or Xers. I don't know, on X. And so I feel like, I can get a better sense of the rhythm of those stocks. I don't have that as much with Luminar. Not many people cover it. But yeah, DVAX. Let's see here. Dynavax Technologies. Earnings came out at the end of February. And this, let's see here. Higher highs. This is a lower high in the RSI. So that's bearish divergence. Unfortunately, possible that move's already been realized, pulling back to that 21-day moving average. So I'd look for it to hold the 21-day moving average, currently at 1361, closed 26 cents above that. So I think that's good. But yeah, let's look at the more near-term volume. That's not really that impressive volume. 2.53 million. Over here it's like 1 million. That was a bullish engulfing candle, so that is a good look in that sense. I'm just gonna yeah, let's see. You could draw a very ugly, very wonky inverse head and shoulders there, but it's like a devil head there, so be careful of that. Doesn't mean anything, just having fun. So there's an inverse head and shoulders pattern there. And so, yeah, I would look for it to get back up to like 1440, 1450 and see how it performs there. Look at the volume, see what's going on with that. And then maybe, there could be a measured move associated with this inverse head and shoulders pattern, and that could potentially, I would say this is a maximum. Oops. I'm gonna do it like this. You know, so from that lowest devil horn straight up. And then, you know, basically just move that to up here wherever it'd like retest. That midpoint, just marking it there. That'd be, you know, maybe going up to 18, but, you know, a more conservative way of thinking about this is maybe just, you know, that's the move to from the very low there to that neckline straight up, and then 1678, 1669. Have fun with it. Yeah, so, but we also do have a good amount of consolidation over here, so that's potentially something to consider. Lots of tops there. That's around 15. So I'd look for it to get up to 1450, see how it performs around there. And if volume looks like it's going to be breaking out, or if it does break out, I think 15 bucks is going to be a pretty notable level there. You just see all that resistance there. But if, you know, volume's back and it could be breaking above. So, yeah, I mean, the highs over here were like 17. You know, what was I just talking about with that measured move? You know, I was doing it based on like a move up to here. So, yeah, I mean, that's like, I could see this going from between 15 to around a maximum of 18. But I could also see it getting rejected around 1450, that neckline. And so I'll just make that a thick line and make it purple. And I'll delete my little doodle of that. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking with this. As long as it's, you know, holding above the 21 day and, you know, all of that. Hey, Nameless, what's up? I will definitely check out Path. I heard about it. I'll add it up here. But I do have one more to go over for Quodwo. Quodwo, hopefully you're still here. I see that you say thank you there, so you're welcome. But I want to just follow up. Or MPW, looking to buy to open those in the money April calls. And so MPW, let's look at this one. So what we can see here is lower highs so far. And with the RSI over here, it was around 79.81. Over here, 79.37. So that's effectively kind of flat there, and this is lower. So there's a little bit of bearish divergence, but it's weak. So, and yeah, I mean, it's not like too crazy or anything. There's no head and or inverse head and shoulders pattern here, because if this is the head, these shoulders, you know, would be above the head. That doesn't make sense. You can't do that. But I mean, this does have, you know, some tops around here. So it's around 6. This is 634, the high here. So maybe it's going to be breaking out. The MACD here looks like it's been green, but it looks like it's fading. So it looks like some weakness as we've been testing this white line here. So over here initially had a volume of 24.33 million shares traded, and that was getting to a high of $5.92. And then we like pierce $6 over here. Volume's lower, 17.5 million versus the 24.3 million. So volume's getting lower, and then also piercing above here again, but with a lower high. Volume's even lower, 8.39 million. So going back in time from 8 million to about 15 million to about 24 million. Volume's just decreasing. There are no more buyers. This one seems, I'm less confident in this one. Well, there might have been a dividend recently. Some people might be wanting to cash out, take some risk off the table. I don't know. But yeah, this volume decreasing as it's up there, testing new highs. It seems like it's getting exhausted. But on the shorter term, you know, we have higher, yeah, actually this is bearish divergence. Higher highs, lower highs, that's bearish divergence. I'll just show you what I'm talking about with that. So bearish divergence. So over here we have higher highs, just that one being marked at 611, that's a higher high. And then a double top here with another high of 611, whereas the RSI is lower highs. So if we look over here, bearish is higher highs in the stock price, lower highs in the RSI. That's what we're seeing. Lower volume as well. MACD getting exhausted, looking like it might be flipping bearish. So I don't think this one's looking that great. Of the three that I looked over for you, I'm least excited about this one. But let's look over at, you said they got options. So let's look at some options with, let's see. How do I want to do this? I'm just going to go to custom flow. And I will do, that is MPW. And that's because I have the premium maxed out above Ed's head at 100,000 now. It was at 1 million. Now it's 10,000. That's what we see. And I'm actually just going to clear that MPW, search it again, and then I'm going to do premium 100,000. So on the 13th, flags cross. I don't know. This is neutral, bearish, bullish, bullish, bearish. I'm just going to look at any one of these. I don't really care because I just want to expand this to see, looking at that premium. Looks like, more on the bear side, but the amount of money behind it, 100,000 net call premium drop, 107,000 drop, 69,000 drop in net put premium. That's not big money. It's not a lot of money. Going over the past 30 days, some buying of calls, it looks like. I don't know. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, this is like, the stock price is flat here, then it goes up. I think it's forming a bull flag or something, but I don't think this is looking that great. I could very well be wrong. This could very well be breaking above 634 and heading up to, the highs here around $9. But I just think that this is showing some weaker signals, in my view. But maybe that's weaker signals on like a week time frame, like a week from now. Maybe it comes back to retest the 21-day moving average around 536. That's not a huge drop from 587. And that 21-day moving average is going to be moving up, so maybe around 550. And if it comes down to 560, 550, maybe it'd be bouncing there. Maybe some of this stuff gets reset and it flips back to being bullish. So maybe you're right about some April calls. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully helpful quoto. And then so nameless requesting path. And this is going to be the last ticker that I go over. I'm going to draw the line with this one just because I have to be up early and I want to do pre-market prep in the morning. I don't want to be too exhausted. So looking at this, it did pull down miraculously to that. I got all this crap drawn up here. Came down to this Fibonacci extension. And so I'm just going to delete all this other crap. 1037. 1037 is actually probably important. But yeah, I mean, all this other crap, I can just delete. I leave too many things up on the charts. Got to get out of that habit. And so, yep. Got that. I was wrong with this drawing. And so what we have here is, this low over here at, I'm surprised why that's not, what is going on? I would expect, oh, it looks like, I can delete this uptrend. That's what it is. Okay, so that's just the low that I marked at 1037. And then we got this level up here, based on the lows there, 1189, and do now have this gap based on the close from March 12th which was 1183. So got that marked, and that does have some confluence with the lows over here. Just talking about volume and stuff. It's nice that we saw a over 9% move on Friday. This does look really good with the candle there, but what do we see? I guess, with this gap down, volume increased, buyers stepping in, put a spinning top in there. And so that suggests a reversal and or indecision, with the big wick to the upside, big wick to the downside, kind of closing in the middle. They're opening and closing in the middle. But did close above, let's see, close at 997, so not above 10. But from there, gapped up, and there's now a gap to the downside. I got to draw that in, 997. And the volume's diminished with this stock price going up, so it doesn't seem like there's much behind it. So yeah, I don't know. It would be great if this continued higher to fill the gap. If it fills this gap here, maybe that's showing some weakness. Like, it'd be nice if it's just able to take off, just keep going up. But yeah, let's see. RSI was oversold 25.64 on Thursday. Now it's 36.12. With this, we see clearly lower lows in the stock price, also lower lows in the RSI, so that's not bearish divergence. I could see this move not be sustained, unfortunately. I could see it do something, I don't know, like that, if it is to go up. But yeah, just with the volume pulling back. This volume is increased to 2675 relative to over here when it was 2292 million. But price didn't move on that day. And there's just a bunch of volume there. And so with that increase in volume, when it's flat here, volume increases a little bit. It's still just consolidating there. So that was a bear flag. And considering that being a bear flag, if we do a Fibonacci extension here, 859. And so that's basically the same idea as what I have with this. Just that's on a smaller time frame or whatever, smaller scale. But yeah, it's possible it could go into the mid 80s. If it breaks below, I guess a stop loss level, 950, something like that, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, with this decrease in volume, I don't feel super confident in that. And so what would you, or what do you think is the worst case and best case scenario? So I feel like the best case scenario, I feel like I have what I feel like is a hopeful yet realistic scenario, feasible, I should say. I think the best case scenario is, for this momentum to continue, this kind of big green candle closing at the highs, for that to continue Monday, and this to be going higher. And really, I think that markets are kind of bottomed, and that's, demonstrated in Jim Cramer thinking that, we're going to be seeing some more pain. So, I think that this could keep going higher. And so, excuse me, the most bullish scenario, I'll delete that. The most bullish scenario, I would say, is a move up, get rejected from the 21 and or 200-day moving average, pull back to 11, 12, $12, I guess, and then go higher. So, man, why couldn't I get that little arrow there? Anyways, I think this is the most bullish type of scenario, and that this could continue to go higher. The most bearish, I would say, is if this loses the gains kind of in the early part of the week and then fills the gap and then just kind of consolidates here, then, I think that could go lower to like that 859 level. So if it doesn't keep the momentum and this gap is pretty quickly filled, it starts to consolidate down here, I think that's, there's just not enough to push up to fill this gap. But if this green move, just looking at the chart here, if I were to cover up, you can't see it, but I'm covering up the volume, I would think, dang, that looks good. And so, I'm not the best at volume analysis. I haven't really done too much of it, and I think that retail doesn't necessarily do too much of it. And so if I was retail and I was looking at this chart, I would be like, dang, we gapped down, we got this big green candle up 9% on the day. So it's like, it gaps down and closes 15. Oh man, I don't want this. I have it measured at 15.72, but I could just go over here to that candle. Down 15.72. Wow, I measured that exactly right. Down 15.72 on the day with the gap down. Man, I'm going to buy some because where there's a gap to the upside that's going to get filled. And then we get a gap up, big green candle, so that looks good, but volume's diminished. And so as a retail trader, I'd see this and be like, man, that looks bullish. This is going to happen. But as a institutional trader, as a smart money trader, as a wolf or sheepdog, I would look at this and see, hey, the volume's going down. This is not going to be sustained. This is likely to fade and pull back. And so that's, I feel like there's still potential for this to kind of consolidate here and go up or pull back and go up. But I don't know. Yeah, this could be sustained. I feel like the market's positioned right now for things to be able to rally. But I think that this, just with the volume coming down, it looks a little bit discouraging. PAGs, I'll do PAGs, but I'm going to do it in less than 5 minutes, and then I'm going to sign off. PAGs, let's see. Got that gap fill, so I'm going to make that a solid line, but I'm also going to make it thinner just so I'm not so overwhelmed by lines. I'm going to delete these levels. Actually, no, I'm going to leave those levels to the downside. I'll just make them thinner, so not so overwhelmed. We do have that 100% Fibonacci extension. Wick down there got caught, looks good. And then over here, we also pierced the 786. And then started to consolidate above the 618. So I think that looks good. I think that, believe it or not, I think that this could be following this doodle that I have up here. Although, some concerning things over here when we hit a high on March 6th, high of 785, volume was 3.7 million shares. Now we're getting a close above this gap, but this high, I think I just said it, 785, we closed lower than that high. So not really that strong. Volume, like I said, 3.7. For Friday, it was 3.03. So volume's not looking as good. So MACD looks like it could flip green. We do have lower highs. There's no bearish divergence, so that's good. We do have from here higher lows. And these lows are, kind of flat. But maybe I want to go over here. So, it's either way, it's higher lows. There's no bullish divergence. I think this looks good, but also there's a gap here. The close on Thursday was 749, so there's a gap there to the downside. I don't know, and comparing with the highs here, it's lower volume, and so that's not looking so great. Over here, getting to kind of something that could look like this. February 5th hit a high of 803. That had a volume. of 5.36 million. Currently, volume of 3.03 million. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that volume is suggesting that this is looking super good. I think that it could be getting rejected. But it could still, follow this doodle that I have. But, yeah, I mean, just like, I think that's kind of acting as resistance there. And so I'll make that thick, and I'll make it red. So that doesn't look so great. But yeah, and then, I mean, if this goes a little bit higher, RSI goes, higher. Really, I mean, I think that this is going to be putting in bearish divergence at some point. It has to get up to 897 in order to not do that. But I suspect that if this continues up to like 826, like the kind of consolidation highs over here, 825, if it gets up to there, that's a pretty big move. That's a, to 825. It's a 5% move to the upside. If it goes that much higher, I feel like the RSI could be into the 70s. The highs over here looks like it was 68.14 or 68.19, 68s. If the RSI then gets into the 70s, but is lower in price than 897, then that is lower highs in the stock price. Then that would be at that time higher highs in the RSI, and that would be bearish divergence, or that would be, let's see, bearish divergence. I think that would be hidden bearish divergence with lower highs and higher highs in that RSI. And so we're not seeing that yet, but with the volume here, it seems kind of weak. And also, if you look at the MACD, it doesn't necessarily look like, it's like tapering into being around zero. It's like too gradual, and it could very easily reverse. Whereas, with like the green over here, it's kind of tough to see, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is actually looking over here. It kind of tapered. It was kind of flat before flipping green. So maybe it could flip green. I'm not sure. But yeah, with the volume here not being super high, I just be a little bit cautious. But yeah, I mean, maybe it could go up to 825, and then I kind of want to reevaluate it there. So maybe I could do that again next week. Hey, Benjamin, I'm actually going to be signing off, though, because I got work tomorrow. I've already done more tickers than I said I would. But I will be doing pre-market prep. I'm going to do it as videos this week because I've got work in the morning. And then I'll try to get some videos out in the evening tomorrow. So, Benjamin, what ticker would you like me to go over? And I'll try to do a video on it tomorrow. If you're going to say Blink, maybe I could do that. Or if you have something else, let me know. I'll try to do a video on it tomorrow. And while I wait for your little last chat there, I'm just going to throw this up here. Because if you did like the stream, if you do like Ticker Request Lives, make sure you like the video, like the stream, and subscribe to the channel. I try to do these every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's just like grabbing a drink with a friend at the bar, just casually chatting, shooting the shit about stocks, FLNC. WAG, good night to you as well. FLNC, since I did go over that last week, it's kind of fresh in my charting. I'll go over it real quick here. FLNC Energy, Fluence Energy. So, let's see. This is crazy. I've not seen RSI like this. What we see in the lows, so there's some potentially good stuff here. I'll try to do a video on Blink for you tomorrow. It might be kind of short, might not be too extensive. And I have to say, I kind of want to get out of my charge point position. I'm just not, I want to get out of a lot of, charge point, Luminar. I think another one that I've been holding for a while. I just think that, I'd rather just consolidate my portfolio. Yeah, no, I'll do FLNC right now. But yeah, just so thinking about this, with the RSI, it's kind of stair-stepping its way up, higher lows. I think that's good because what we're seeing in the stock price is, right here, lower lows, whereas there's higher lows, and it's totally oversold. So I think that's a potentially good look. What we see over here, though, let's see, bigger volume when it's, coming down like this, and then it goes up a little bit. The volume's actually lower than what it was over here. So it just seems like there's not enough buyers over here with it like kind of coming back. It seems like there, also not that many sellers. There was a bearish engulfing candle here on Friday. I think that this is looking like buyers will eventually get exhausted because, it's coming down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 count. Maybe there's something there. And so buyers step in to push this up, but it only goes up, from the lows to that close, 17%, from the open, 12%. And it's really just consolidating here. So, yeah, volume being highest here. Yeah, I mean, like, you can even take a step back a little bit. Volume. Yeah, it's just there's not enough buyers. It seems like people are slowly getting shaken out. And so, yeah, I mean, with my doodle up here going to there, that might not even happen. It looks like the 21-day moving average is, going to be some resistance right above it. And so maybe that's something that it could break above and find a support if it gets, really close to it. But right now it looks like if it moves up some, it's going to be bumping into that as resistance right around $6. So I'd be cautious with this one. And, with gaps like this, it can take months of, really just waiting for all the weak hands to get shaken out before there's an attempt at filling that gap. So, yeah, and I mean, this stock generally has just been putting in lower, I guess, yeah, that's the 52-week low. I'm just going to remove my drawings so there's no clutter. Looking at this on the weekly. I mean, I think that there's going to be an opportunity cost to this one, that I think that it could be taking its time before filling that gap there. So I think that it's a pretty risky one. So I'd be cautious with it. But yeah, anyways, on that note, I'm just going to slam this. Cheers to you guys, and start of the new week. I think that bottom's going to be in for a lot of stocks. Although FLNC, I think it looks a little bit concerning. But I mean, I look for some volume to start coming back. If volume starts coming back, then I think, it could at least get up to around $8. Maybe you find that there's some resistance there. But if volume's not coming back, I think that's probably going to fade. And Nameless is saying, cheers, have a successful week. So yeah, I hope that you guys all have great weeks. I will be working basically during market hours. Yeah, Nameless, I'm optimistic. I don't know if you saw in the thumbnail, but that is a quote from Jim Cramer. He said, the market should look to give up some gains ahead of what could be tumultuous pronouncements. And so, given, inverse Cramer, that could mean that the bottom's in. I think J-Pow is speaking on Friday, FOMC March meeting. So that's on the 18th and 19th. So that's going to be Tuesday and Wednesday. And so J-Pow will probably be speaking on the 19th. And let's see. Yeah, what's the asterisk? I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, I think that what I'm expecting from him is I'm expecting him to not be hawkish. I'm not necessarily expecting him to be dovish, but I think that at the next meeting in at the next meeting in May, I think there's a possibility of a rate cut. And that would be, dovish, easing, and that things could be going higher. And so I don't think that we're there yet, which might mean that there's more pain in the markets. But for this week, I think that Jay Powell will not be hawkish. I think that his tone will suggest that they're not planning to do any rate cuts, but perhaps they're talking about it. Perhaps it's in the conversation. I don't know. But yeah, I think that we'll see some rallies in the markets because of what Jim said. And yeah, so I'm feeling good about that. And I'll go over it in pre-market prep, but I did go over it earlier. Looking at the SPY, remove those drawings. We look at this on the weekly. That's a hammer candle with a big wick to the downside and a close above the 50-week moving average. Also with this gap up here or gap down here. So I think we need to fill that. So I am feeling like bottoms are in at least for a week or maybe 2 or 3 day rally. Who knows? But yeah, it could be maybe getting up to this little blue circle there. But anyways, I'm going to close this down so I can get ready for bed. I'm not exhausted tomorrow. Disclosure crypto. My thoughts on crypto. I am going to have to say I'm not going to go over to Gari Network. I'm sorry. But I kind of covered it with Bitcoin. I think that some big positions have been opened short. It's possible that those positions get squeezed, which would mean that price goes higher. We have these two CME gaps that have not yet been filled from this past Friday and the Friday before. So I would think that, it's kind of surprising that this CME gap was not filled. And so maybe that's a little bit bearish. But so for me, whether it's Bitcoin, I'm trying to get into more, Bitcoin, Ethereum focus because I feel like they're a little more conservative, a little safer bets. I feel like if they do dip, that they're going to be discounts. And if they rip, I'm cool with that too. So, I think like as far as altcoins though, like my Doge position, I just do a normal daily $5 DCA. Am I tempted to add more than that? Yes. Am I going to? No. I was doing $5 DCAs on Ethereum. I upped that to $10. I'm considering upping my $5 DCA on Bitcoin to $10, but I have not done that yet. I'm considering doing a larger buy of Bitcoin in case it doesn't come down here. But I would reserve the majority of that bigger buy for down here in the high 60s to low 70s. And so I'm prepared for things to look bearish for Bitcoin, which would probably be very bearish for altcoins, especially ones that are not Ethereum or, that are newer. So by the end of the year, though, I'm expecting Bitcoin and probably most alts to be a lot higher than they are now. So it depends on your time horizon. But I think for the duration of 2025, I think that we could be seeing tops anywhere between May and the end of December. So that's my thesis. I'm sticking to it. I could be wrong, though. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining. I'll put out a video before the market opens for pre-market prep. I will not be going over an additional ticker, but that will include Bitcoin, probably Ethereum if I wake up early enough, the SPX as well as the SPY, focusing more on the SPY. I'm going to delete Unity, and I'll also be going over uranium and then the volatility index as well as the UVIX. I like to cover that one. But yeah, I'll be doing that in the morning. But anyways, take care of you guys, sleep well, and look forward to an exciting week. I think it's going to be a good one, some bottoms.